We got in Saturday morning early. So it came up the Philippine Airlines flight, and got in, got settled in. It's early morning, and the kids and I went to sleep. And woke up later that day, and we were out running around. Saturday night, Asher started showing some symptoms. He wasn't feeling well, but he's a 5-year-old that. And 5-year-olds get sick sometimes, small sickness. And I remember him spitting up or throwing up something that he ate. I didn't really think anything of it Saturday night because it's not the first time he's thrown something up or spit something up. And he seemed a little bit warm, but he went to bed. Then Sunday was the 28th. That morning he threw up. He was throwing up. He ate something and he threw it up, and he had a fever. So I gave him. I tried to give him the fever medicine I had for children. And he couldn't hold it down. So I thought, okay, Ash. But I also had, from traveling, I had the flavored Tylenol. I don't think it was Tylenol. I forget the name of it, but the pills they can take for fever for kids. No, it was the pills, like little pills, little candy-like pills. But they put up like one of the companies, Tylenol, whatever. But they're flavored, and it's not something you have to drink. And I think it's a lot easier for him to hold it down. So he took those, and after a while, he drank some more, and after a while, his fever went down, and we went out on the 28th. And we went running around, did a bunch of things. He didn't really look that sick all during the day, but later in the day, the fever came back, and that night he couldn't eat, and he threw up again, and so forth, and his fever got bad, and I gave him more medicine. I thought to myself, I need to take him to the doctor. And I was thinking I should take him then. We were in Sunday at that time. And I said, no. I thought to myself, no. He has a full annual physical tomorrow. By coincidence, this is a coincidence. It's set up, full annual physical set up on the 29th. This was the 28th. I said, no, just take him in tomorrow. We went in, doctor, and the nurse did the vitals and all those. And by the way, before we left for the clinic, he was sick. He had a fever. He wasn't feeling well. He was throwing up also that morning before we left to go Monday morning. But again, this is a mistake on my part, and parents should be aware of this. I gave him fever medicine, the same fever medicine, and it brought the fever down before he went to the clinic. And that's a good thing in one way, but another way, it masks the symptoms. And of course, the doctor, that's exactly the first thing the doctor said to me. Oh, he doesn't have a fever now. And I said, he has had a fever and throwing up off and on since Saturday night.
And you told him that you gave him fever medicine?
Clearly, I told him I gave him fever medicine. I've been with that clinic for 30 years, and I've got at least another 3 other children that have gone through there, all have wellness exams, and I'm really careful with what I say to doctors. And he was sick, and I was worried about him. Plus, by the time he got there Monday morning, his voice was raspy.
Was it busy that morning?
No busier than usual. I don't remember it being busy. I don't remember how long we waited. But it's just like an average amount of time. No busier than usual. So the doctor, the nurse does all that she's supposed to do, does his height and weight, and does his eye checkup, and takes his vital signs. And then we go in to see the doctor, and the doctor is looking up, explaining to me. I give the doctor first of all his vaccination chart record, and it's stuff that he's had. And he left the room. This is important why I'm telling you this. He left the room. The fire nurse to photocopy or whatever. Came back in, and then he was discussing his body mass and that kind of information from that stuff. And I'm telling him, I'm saying, Doc, I told him this something like, he's been sick all weekend, not feeling good. He's been throwing up. He's got fever off and on, and you can hear his voice. And now it was raspy. That was an add-on symptom going into the clinic that morning because I didn't notice that I didn't notice that Sunday night his voice was raspy, and he was after he got done doing all that kind of stuff, and so he goes, the vitals are all normal, and he doesn't have a temperature now. I said, Doc, I just gave him the medicine to lower his temperature, to lower his fever, and so forth. He goes, that's why. And I explained to him again, he's been sick. And he said, oh, no, blah, 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 blah. And he said, no, what we probably should do is just keep an eye, monitor him. At this time, there had been no physical.
Did he order a blood test?
No. Later I found out, by the way, from somebody at the clinic that Asher's vitals are all in the normal limits, but at the higher levels.
So his oxygen, his blood pressure.
That I think the oxygen at the clinic was okay, but the other vitals, I forget what the oxygen was at that time, but I think it was okay. But so I'm explaining all this to the doctor, and then I said, no, what's this moment? And I looked at I'm thinking to myself, are you forgetting that we're here for an annual physical? This is the same thing, by the way, in 2017 when he saw my son. And I didn't want to see this doctor for 2018. When I called up to set up the appointment for this, they told me he was the only one available. And I asked for somebody else. I ended up taking him. I regret it now. So when he went back in...
You asked for somebody else and they told you that was not possible.
In 2017, Dr. Miyagi did the physical for my son. He maybe took 20 minutes at that time, at the most, the time that he had with my son, to do an annual physical. And I wasn't happy with it. It was a abbreviated. It wasn't even a physical. It was a shortcut. And then when I called, and I wasn't happy with him. And then when I called up to set up the 2018 appointment, which was October 29th, the date we're talking about, they told me that Dr. Miyagi is my family doctor, and I asked for someone else. I said, well, he's the only one available at that time, because we're available at that time. So I said, okay, I'll just push him to do the right thing he's supposed to be doing. Little did I know how true those words were going to be later on. And if we could ever find out who took the phone call, and if she ever remembers, I strongly said, I don't really want to see him. Again, I want to see somebody else. It's really weird the way things turn out. So anyways, he's talking to me, and he's doing all this stuff, and I said, he can't have immunization today because he's got fever and everything else. And then finally he said, well, we'll just monitor him. He doesn't have fever now. And he said, okay. And he was like sending us out. He did. One time I think he checked my son's private ear while my son was standing, pulled his pants out or something. And he said, okay, we'll monitor him. And I said, wait. I'm just saying to him, he's here for an annual physical. You don't do an annual physical. At that time I said 15 minutes, but it ends up it was in the office for 20 minutes. Later that, same repeat. Later that day, he's not able to eat. He's throwing up again. He's not holding food. He's looking bad. And I should have realized that he was getting really bad because I had clothes for them. I went to the post office. I bought some clothes that were sent by Old Navy or whatever. And I called him in to try the clothes on. Only his brother came in. I was calling to him, come in. And I thought it was peculiar. I went out and I saw him. He's laying on the sofa playing with his tablet. It didn't seem right, but I didn't click. But by the time the next morning rolled up, he was sick that night. By the next morning rolled around, all hell broke loose. He was totally sick. He was fever. He's really hot. The medicine wasn't. I got up. I gave him the medicine. It wasn't bringing it down. I said, "Okay, let's go back to the clinic. We gotta go now. Let's get up." And I threw him in the shower. Both kids in the shower. I tried to give him something to eat. I still have the food that he ate that morning in my refrigerator. I packaged it and I kept it. It was sitting at the table after he passed. I didn't want to throw it away. So this is another mistake I made. I should have never gone back to the Seventh-day Adventist. where I live, I'm in Upper Tumon. I should turn left and went to the Guam Regional Medical Center. And instead, I'm still thinking he's not that sick. He's got something going on, but we don't know what it is. So I will go to urgent care as Seventh-day Adventist. While I'm getting him dressed that morning, I freaked out. I said, okay, I just get dressed. And I was in their room getting Azrael dressed. And I said, I'm all dressed, Daddy. He said to me, Asher, and I walked in, he's totally naked. I said, you dressed? He goes, yes. He didn't know what he was talking about. And he couldn't. didn't know where he was. He was all confused. He couldn't talk right. His voice was really raspy. Raspy's not the word, it was worse. Off to SDA we go, and into urgent care. I should never have gone back there, especially after Dr. Miyagi's fiasco. Go into urgent care. We go right into urgent care. The process right into urgent care, and the second nightmare begins. Just keep one thing in mind. I've got a 6-year-old with me, by myself, and a 5-year-old. The 5-year-old is dying. I don't know it, but he is. And I know he's sick. My little boy doesn't even know where he is. And he's got his sweatshirt on with the hood, and he's shaking, and he's got fever, and everything else is going on. Yeah, he was cold. And fever at the same time. By the time we got here, that's why I had him with the hood. He had his hood on. And we got in there. So we the physician assistant is the one that's assigned to us. His name is Ethan Snyder.
Did Ethan realize that Asher was shaking? That he had a fever and...
But yeah, he should have. He's examining him. He's examining him. So
he never once said that this is a symptom of septic shock?
No, I don't think that some of the inventors at that point, or I'm not sure where along the way that they knew it was septic. It was in the reports afterwards. But Ethan Snyder, who's a physician assistant, not a doctor, starts off and he says to me, this is what he said. And this is what I said to you earlier. People don't tell you really what's going on with your kids. He said to me, we cannot, almost exact words, we cannot do an assessment here. No, he needs a full assessment that we can't do here. He needs to go to the ER at the hospital. And why he's saying that? I'm saying, did you check his records from yesterday? And he says, well, you didn't see me. I go, no. Can you check to see what Dr. Miyagi said yesterday while he was here? Dr. Miyagi didn't do anything for my son the day before, but maybe he wrote something down that's helpful that I don't know about. Obviously, by looking at these records, not. But I didn't know that. I said, check the mannerism. Ethan Snyder, well, you didn't see me. You didn't see me. This is the way he's talking to me. I'm stressed out with 2 kids, and this is how they're professional, Seventh-day Adventists. It doesn't matter if I'm not raising my voice, I'm not saying bad words, but I'm definitely stressed. Well, you didn't see me. You didn't see me like this. I go, I'm not saying I saw you. I saw somebody else, and he will not go check the records.
That your son, prior to his passing, you had not seen a doctor. A doctor hadn't seen him for 12 hours. Is that right?
When he was, we're talking about Guam Memorial Hospital. He was admitted to Guam Memorial Hospital on the morning of the 30th. He came in through the ER, and in the ER he saw the staff at the ER. They did everything they're supposed to do. They didn't put him into ICU, which they should have. But anyways, then they admitted him to a room. I think it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and maybe at 7 p.m. Dr. Garrido, the pediatrician, came in for about 10 minutes, at the most, maybe 12 minutes. And he told me that it looks like my son has pneumonia, and also there might be something else going on, but it wasn't clear. But I'm talking about pneumonia.
And they never told you at this point that he was going to septic shock?
They never said anything about how serious his condition was. A matter of fact, from the very beginning, I knew he was sick, but I was never led to believe, told by anyone, that he was dying. I had no idea what was going on, except that he had pneumonia. Now, pneumonia, he's in the hospital, he's going to be okay, and so forth, and something else is going on, and they're going to take care. They're going to take care. And also at that time, I didn't realize that they never did a virus culture. He had a virus because they did an X-ray in the ER, and they said he has a virus, and they said it looks like pneumonia, but they never cultured it. And from what I understand later on, hospitals are supposed to culture a virus because they want to know what they're treating and what they're dealing with, and there's public health issues that might go along with it, which became more prevalent later on. So maybe at 7 p.m., I don't know the exact time, 7 to 7:15, Dr. Garrido My son passed away 12 hours later, about 7 a.m. in the morning, and no one, many nurses, no doctor that I know of ever. And I was holding my son all night. I'm in bed with him all night holding.
So you were there.
It was my job to hold the respirator on his face. I said to them, you're in the pediatric ward. Don't you have a way to hold the respirator? He kept fighting and taking it off. I said, isn't there some other way? I don't know anything about these things. I'm not a doctor. No, so just help us and you just hold the respirator. So all night I held his respirator and he keeps pulling it off and he's arguing with me. Doesn't want the respirator. He's 5. Doesn't want the respirator on his face. And no doctor came into the room to look at him at all the whole night. He passed around 7 a.m. in the morning. I don't remember the exact hour, about 12 hours after Dr. Garrido came in. And at that time, about 8 doctors come running in. Dr. Garrido, Sormento, people in the ER, and some other doctors, I don't remember their names, all come running in to try to revive him and giving condolences. And I'm thinking to myself, where were you all night? First of all, I didn't know my son was dying. I have no idea I have no idea.
Were there no alerts that went off?
Yeah. For me, there was some alerts. The first alert is that he had blood coming from his nose, and I said to the nurses, I said, "What's this? What's this?" And she said, "Well, sometimes the respirator will dry out the nose, and this is common for blood to come up." So I bought into that, and he's
They didn't call the doctor for that.
no, doctor. The nurse told me that. No doctor. And then the nurse told me also that they were thinking about his oxygen level was at, if I remember, it was like 88%, and it's supposed to be up over 90, like 92 or 93 or something. So that's why we have to keep the respirator on and so forth and so on. And at maybe 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, they told me that we have to move. We're thinking about moving him into ICU.
Without a doctor examining him.
No doctor came in the room. They might be looking at the records that the nurses are taking out, but no doctor came in that room. I was with my son all night. No doctors. And that's why I'm thinking he's not that sick. I'm buying into the whole concept of what my observations are. My observations are he's got blood. He said it's because of this. His face also didn't look right to me. It looked like he was getting some swelling. Something wasn't right. I'm telling this to the nurse. So they said, we're thinking about putting him into the ICU. Then maybe about 15 minutes after she said that, she goes, instead of putting him to ICU, we're going to move him next to our desk. So in other words, there's a series of pediatric rooms, treatment rooms, hospital rooms in the pediatric ward. And he was down maybe towards the end, so they moved him right across from the nurses station. But still, across from the nurses station is not the ICU. So I thought, oh, so so that way they're closer, so they come in. I'm thinking to myself, everything's going to be okay. And I'm just going by what they're saying. You know, I feel bad about this because maybe I should have known more, maybe I should look closer, or whatever. When his mom had called and spoke to him on the phone, she said to me, he doesn't look well. I said, yes, he doesn't look well at all, but they're saying this and that, and they're treating him and so forth. A lot of this didn't become noticeable. I didn't realize a lot of this until after he had passed, and we went back and started looking at the medical records and realized no doctor saw my son.
And no nurse.
The nurses were there. They were in the room all the time. They were there all the time. I can't say the nurses were there. They were taking his vitals. I don't know even. I'm not sure when they took blood tests, but I know they took a blood test of him at 6 a.m. in the morning, from what I understand. He died about 7. So I'm wondering if they took the blood. Maybe the blood test result wasn't up. If they took a blood test at 6, couldn't they see how he looked? He was in trouble, distressed. The blood test would have shown all of it. It's done stat. By the time they got, maybe he had already passed. I don't know. I'm just looking at what the record said. But they're looking at him all night. I'm laying him in bed, and I'm keeping asking him. It's very difficult to hold the respirator. I'm not complaining, but it's very difficult to hold a respirator on a 5-year-old who's arguing with you the whole night. That's why I know that he should probably have been intubated, because he was fighting to keep that respirator on. And we're in a pediatric unit. They must face this all the time. So Yeah, so no doctors came in the whole time, and they never did the virus. They never even cultured him to find out what virus he had. And then at 7 o'clock, around 7 o'clock in the morning, he passed.
Well, what time was the last time he spoke to you?
Let's see. I was talking to him. I was talking to him all night because, trying to keep the mask on. He kept putting his arms around me. I said, "Daddy, I love." Sorry. He kept telling me, "Daddy, I love you," 2 or 3 times during the night. He told the nurse, "I love my daddy." I said to him, "We need to take a trip when you get out of here. Where do you want to go?" He said, "I want to go to Hong Kong, Disneyland." I said, "Okay, but you got to keep the respirator on, okay? Because that's the way we're going to..." He said, "Okay, Daddy." At 5:30 in the I was talking to him about 5 o'clock, at 5:30 in the morning. I think that was about the last time I talked to him. He died like an hour later.
Did he seem to be in?
No, at 5:30 he was already relaxed. He had the respirator on. He was laying in bed. The respirator was on the pillow. His head was on the pillow. It looked like he was relaxed and sleeping. At that time, I got up out of the bed and stretched, and I sat down next to the bed to watch him. And I must have dozed off because within about 45 minutes after I knew it was 5:30. I remember looking at my watch and thinking I could sit next to him for a while until he wakes up, and so forth. And he's got the respirator. Everything's okay right now. Blah blah. About 45 minutes later, I must have dozed off because all of a sudden I hear all kinds of commotion and noise in the room. People running in and out, and they're yelling cold blue. And I'm looked, and it's my son. They're all trying to revive him. So it's a matter of like a half an hour, 45 minutes. They took the blood test at 6, so this must have happened right afterwards. And it was 5:30 when I climbed out of the bed because he looked like he was resting and relaxing. The nurses are coming in all the time and checking him. So it's just, I don't know. Speaking as a father, I've been living in Guam for 45 years, so I have Guam experience, and experience in other places also. And I've been at least 3 kids that have gone through the Seventh-day Adventist clinic, and 4 kids have seen other doctors on Guam. First thing is that you are the parent, you are in charge. If you allow a doctor to intimidate you, and if you don't agree, and I've heard this from many parents or many family members say the exact same thing. They went along with what the doctor said, then later regretted it. It's a common problem. We have great doctors on Guam. I've had great experience with doctors on Guam. I have a great experience with doctors even at the Seventh-day Adventist clinic. But if you allow them to make every decision for you and you don't agree with it, but you allow them, you are putting your child and your family member's life at risk. If you don't like something that they're doing, you need to speak up and raise your voice or whatever. I yelled at my doctor, but it wasn't enough. I didn't know my son was dying. I should have yelled at him more. I should have raised a bigger fuss, but I didn't know the seriousness of the situation. He didn't care. He gave my dying son 20 minutes to do an annual exam and didn't respond to any of the symptoms. I asked afterwards, does he even own a stethoscope? So as parents, the other thing is, as parents, you're the one in charge. If you don't like what the doctor said, ask to speak to somebody else. Don't be embarrassed or shy, because when you do that, you put your family member's life at risk. That's a fact. I've spoken to so many people since this has happened. Many parents of kids and family members, and they've all told me they've had similar experience at Guam Memorial Hospital and at clinics on Guam, including Seventh-day Adventist Clinic. And they all say the same thing. They regret going by what the doctor said. So get a second opinion or do what you want. The other thing is a small thing. If you have a sick child in the morning and you're heading to the clinic, don't give them fever medicine. Because then you're going to get some doctor who can't think beyond his hand, and he's going to say, well, there's no fever now. There's no fever now. Maybe if I didn't give my child the fever medicine that morning before Seventh-day Adventist, my son would have been sick enough as Seventh-day Adventist with a fever for that doctor to maybe have done something. I gave my son medicine like we all do. Got the Seventh-day Adventist. The doctor couldn't see beyond his hand. Didn't want to do any blood tests. Didn't want to do anything else. And that was the end of the story. That was the beginning of the end of my son. So avoid that. Let your son arrive or daughter arrive to the clinic sick so they can see how they really look. Otherwise, they don't care. You're the parent. Take charge. Don't trust these doctors. And remember something, and I said it already. We're dealing with some great doctors on Guam, but some doctors only meet minimal requirements to see and take care of your children. Would you want a babysitter that only meets minimal requirements, or a daycare that only meets minimal requirements, or a teacher with your children? I don't think so. Not if you can avoid it. I wish you the best.